Welcome to the Powercast with Charlie Johnson. I'm one of the world's leading fitness and transformation coaches. I'm going to be providing you with the tools to build your ultimate body and mind. All right, so pleasure to have Alex Davies, WBFF superstar on the podcast today. How you doing?
Hi, Charlie. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm good. Feeling good.
Very, very good. Very, very good. So, for any of the listeners who aren't aware of who you are, what is it? Where are you from? Who are you? What do you do?
So, in terms of the fitness industry, I am a WBFF Pro muscle model. I'm based in the southwest of England. I also have a base in southwest of London. So I'm kind of in and out, mainly because my main career, or should I say my original career, is aerospace engineer. So I still very much keep my foot in the door as a full-time engineer, as well as dipping in and out of the fitness industry as a professional competitive athlete.
So that's, I think, one of the things that I initially not attracted me to you. That's the wrong word. Initially I had massive respect for you straight away, was that the fact that you have a professional career as well as obviously having your fitness career. And obviously, from my background, originally coming from a corporate real estate sort of background, that for me, naturally, I've gravitated to you in that respect, having huge respect, because I know what it takes to have the pressures of having a full-time proper job, not just dancing around as a gym instructor and then doing a bit of competing like most people do. And then actually seriously competing and trying to stay compos mentis whilst in the diet isn't the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I think when we first crossed paths, it was very similar. We both had very intense careers in a completely separate field to the fitness industry, which was probably why we connected so well when we first started collaborating. And we've had a couple of training sessions in the past. So yeah, I mean, it can be challenging. It certainly does feel like you're living two lives almost.
That's the weirdest thing. That the funny thing is, you said that, it brings back memories to me. It almost felt like I would go from one bubble of a certain world to another world. It's like you, Bruce Wayne and Batman. Do you know what I mean? Changing suits. Do
you know what? The last podcast I did was for for some Aussies for the Competitive Edge podcast.
Yeah.
One of the first things they said was, so basically you're Clark Kent. You're a nerd during the day, and then a superhero. That was their words, not mine, but a superhero in the gym in the evening. It's kind of you're wearing a different hat. So, it's not, the other thing about my role is it's not just hands-on engineering. It's much more, it's quite a senior position. I have engineers beneath me who I have to supervise and manage. So I do a lot of consultancy stuff. So during the day, I'm very much Mr. Strict and professional. And then as soon as I leave work, I put that, take that hat off, and that person ceases to exist, and it's time to go beast mode in the gym. And, when you're getting close to a competition, it's sometimes hard to have an easy transition between work mode and training mode, and then trying to find time for social time and relaxation time. So it can be quite full on, but it certainly is manageable if you're proactive with your planning, and you're willing to make a few sacrifices and prioritize. Then you can. It's doable. It's challenging, but it's definitely doable.
That's the key to everything. It's just structure, organisation, and planning ahead. I think, and if you get those bits and pieces nailed down, then there's no reason why you can't achieve it, regardless of what career you're in.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I can't say it would be easier or harder if I worked in a gym. The theory is, if you work in a gym, you're already there. You maybe don't need as much motivation to get yourself there. But at the same time, I have heard people who do work in a fitness environment they then feel like they spend their entire life in the gym and are less motivated to go and work.
That's a very funny point, actually, because I originally, before I went into the property industry, I was originally qualified as a PT. This is very scary, 11 years ago. And I went with personal training in the gym at the time. And that actually made me fall out of love with training for a little bit, because I spent so much time in the gym that I started, not to hate it would be the wrong word, but, like, if you spend all your time in one place, so I wouldn't train in the place I'd work. I would go, and I originally started working for the gym group at one of their original gyms in Guildford. And I wouldn't train there because I didn't want to spend any more time there, if that makes sense. Because it's one of those things, if your head's in that environment, I just couldn't get myself fired up for it. So I can understand where people are coming from that point of view, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I almost see the gym, before I became a competitive athlete, the gym was my place of therapy, really. It was if you're stressing out at work or in your personal life, you go to the gym and you can take out your aggression or your thoughts, and you can just, headphones in, heavy training, and by the time you leave the gym, you've kind of forgotten all of your problems. So, and it still very much is that for me. As much as I can see the benefits of having a training partner, I almost never train with someone. Yeah. Because I like to get in the zone and do my own thing, and that's my hour or hour and a half of the day that is my time, and I can really focus on what I want to accomplish in that time.
To be honest, I've been training a little bit last week or two on my own a lot more. I've been traveling a lot, and I do. There's pluses and minuses to training someone else. And there's nothing better than sometimes just putting your headphones on and just absolutely hammering yourself. And you can put yourself so much in the zone that you don't think about anything else.
I agree.
Catch your person looking at you like a bit of a lunatic, but it's a moment of clarity is the way I'd probably describe it, to be fair.
The only issue with training on your own is you don't have that assistance to push you. If you listen to someone like Dorian Yates or even Luke Sando, been watching a lot of his stuff lately. If you don't have someone to, you can reach what you think's failure. There's more in the tank. You can either do more on your own, or you can do more with a bit of help. So, even if they're taking some of the load off you, that's still progressing you further than you would if you were training on your own. But where I travel with work, and I'm usually in quite a quiet environment, I'm almost never in a conventional bodybuilding gym. I'm always in these fitness suites or budget gyms, because I'm always traveling around and forever finding, I'll have to go here today because they've got this equipment for this part of my body, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm always floating around on my own, and I can't just go up to random people and say, hey,
it's awkward. And then there's always a thing as well, if someone's spotting you and you don't know them, you don't know quite how they're going to behave, and it's always a bit like you almost rather not bother in some respects, and just more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to ever really move into the fitness industry full time, I'd want to be London based, and I'd probably find somewhere where I could train frequently in a place that has everything that I need. And perhaps then I would start, collaborating and training more with others who could motivate me and are on the same sort of path as me. Like, I love training with you, for example.
Yeah.
Because I'll think I'm done when I've done my 10th.
Yeah, we're just kicking each other's ass.
You're like, no, you're not. You've got another 5 reps in you, and shouting in your ear, and pushes you. It does drive you to, squeeze that little bit extra out of yourself. So, but yeah, for now, quite content. I've got 3.5 weeks left until my next show, so I'm just gonna
where's the next one?
So next show for me is WBFF World Championships. That is in the Bahamas, quite a glamorous location. Obviously it rotates around. It was in Vegas last year. It's been in London, Toronto. But yeah, forever striving to get that, World Championship title. I know I'll certainly be bringing my best package this year, based on the feedback that I had from a couple of shows I did last year. So yeah, I'll certainly be bringing my best.
What's your current training regime look like in terms of cardio and training?
So training, I've always literally made it up as I go along. Anything to do with weightlifting,
it's instinctive.
I've always done myself, and I sometimes will literally walk into the gym thinking I'm going to train back, and then end up training shoulders after the first exercise, just because I train what feels right. I try and base everything around, it's a bodybuilding split. So I train 6 days a week, and I try and do most muscle groups once a week and weak areas twice a week. So, for example, if I wanted to bring up my hamstrings, I would probably train a hamstring and glute dominant day on a Monday. And then when I do quads on, say, Friday or Saturday to keep them far apart, I would also incorporate some hamstrings into that workout. But at the moment, you're probably looking at legs, whether it be quad or hamstring dominant, Monday and Friday or Monday and Saturday, depending on how sore I am. And then in between, it's literally whatever I think I can get the most use out of. So if I go into the gym on Tuesday and my back's a bit sore from training legs the day before, I'll do chest. If my back feels great and I think that I can complement the day before, then I'll train back. And then the following day I'll think, okay, well, back and legs are sore, I'll train shoulders and arms. I very much make it up as I go along. I try to do heavy compound lifts as a basic structure, followed by hypertrophy volume isolation work, or alternatively vice versa. I'll start with pre-exhausting with a lot of volume, and then I'll do the compounds, but I'll alternate the rep ranges. So rather than going for 5 rep max, I might just do 4 sets of 20 reps, for example. So the important thing for me is that you're consistent, but you always change what you're doing. Never do the same workout twice. Never do the same thing for too long. If you're doing week by week and you're growing and getting stronger, then keep doing it. If you reach a plateau, it's time to change everything around. Change all the orders, all the rep ranges, all the.
Funny you said that. So someone asked that on my IG stories there, exactly what I said. If you're plateauing, my exact words would just change
everything,
vary everything. Yeah. You'll get a new stimulus.
And you can always try something new. Like, have you ever said how much weight can you get 100 reps on squats with? Like, not many people have probably tried, and not many people will realize how light they'd have to go, but also what incredible burn they might get from that. I wouldn't say that's the best way to grow muscle or get stronger, but it's something you can put into your workout to shock your body, which will encourage the breaking of plateaus. That would be weight training. As for cardio, my coach, who's prepping me for Worlds, he controls my diet and cardio, and he basically tells me every week how much he wants to do. So we started at 14 weeks out, 20 minutes on the Stairmaster in the morning, and that has very slowly and progressively built up to, we're on 55 minutes a day at the moment.
Is that in one hit?
Sorry?
Is that in one hit on the Stairmaster?
Yeah. So I used to split it, but I do quite a bit of research myself, and someone recently that I was watching on YouTube was saying how the first 15 minutes of cardio is just a warm up. The second 15 minutes is just water loss. And it's actually after that you start to burn fat. So I thought there's no point doing on that theory. Now, I don't believe everything that I hear on YouTube, but if that theory was correct, doing more than 30 minutes in one hit would be the most efficient way to burn fat. And I have noticed that previously I might have cut it in two. So I do 30 minutes in the morning and 25 minutes post-workout, post-weights in the evening. Both have their benefits. You've got, when you finish doing your weight training, you're depleted. You've kind of used your body's energy resource. You've emptied your stomach. You've emptied your glycogen cells. So to me, that is an optimum time to do cardio. However, you're then hindering your recovery. If you've just finished a heavy weight session, you kind of want to start feeding and recovering if you want to maintain muscle mass. So it's worked for me to completely separate those two, do a full at the moment 55 minutes in the morning, and then just weights in the evening. And I come home feeling, adequately tired, hungry, ready to rest, and I'm out for the night and
ready to all over again.
That's it. Yep. All about routine with bodybuilding.
Day out. With your cardio, is it always the stepper you're using every time? This prep is. I've done variations before, so I've been in a gym. I've been in a membership of a gym before. I haven't had access to a Stairmaster, so I've done lists on a bike or incline walking treadmill, and I've also done a bit of HIIT training on spin bike. The problem I've found is the closer to the show I get, when I start doing too much impact, I have an ever so slightly irritable knee. And if I start pounding HIIT in the morning when I'm not so loose and nimble, or I've got DOMs from the leg day, if I start trying to hammer the HIIT on the spin bike, it can actually flare up and aggravate my knee, which only seems to be a problem in the last few weeks of prep. I think as you get depleted and dehydrated, your joints are slightly more vulnerable to aches and pains. So keeping a nice, steady, consistent list has really helped me avoid any injuries this prep. That's good to hear. I get the same thing, to be fair, with the HIIT situation. I find it's very taxing on my joints, to the point where after a few weeks I have to end up knocking on the head a bit, and it becomes counterproductive for training, to be honest with you.
I think HIIT's great. It's an awesome way to
recover from it. It's time efficient, which is great.
Yes, it's also good for your cardiovascular system. But I think HIIT would be something that I would probably try and keep in 3 times a week during my off season to stay fit, reduce body fat slightly, but also to keep my cardiovascular health up, so that when I'm lifting weights, I'll be more efficient at processing, delivering nutrients, keeping healthy blood flow, etc. But when it comes to comp prep, it's all about just having a sustainable calorie deficit. And if you can do that just by, tolerating almost an hour on a Stairmaster, then that's, to me, the best way to do it.
What's your calories look like, out of interest?
So my coach gives me a diet plan by food in weight. And to be honest, I haven't actually punched in the figures until last week's prep change. And last week they were about 2,500 calories, which for my weight, sitting at about 100 kilos at the moment, is not very much. But so it's not so much, he doesn't give me calories and macros. He literally gives me a full spectrum of, here are your meals for the day, here are your weights, food types, etc. So I used to, punch them into MyFitnessPal every week and be like, okay, so they're dropping by about 100 calories a week, for example. But because I trust his judgment, I've literally just done as he said. And, that's the reason I have a coach, is so that I can take the thought process out for me, and all I have to do is the work. So that adds an element of simplicity to the prep. Is all I have to do with food and cardio is what my coach has told me to. I don't have to
execute the plan.
Exactly. So I don't need to think, why has he dropped my carb meal post-workout? Or why has he done this? Why has he done that? I just think, right, I trust his judgment. You have to trust your coach. If you don't, there's no point in working with them. So, you just literally have to do as they say. And luckily I get to then play around with the weights, because that's something that I've always done myself. So, that's my opportunity to do a bit of research and experiment with different exercises. And, that's my contribution. I can build the physique I want, and Nate will bring me in. Yeah, exactly.
With training then, what's your favorite aspect of training then? So obviously you love the creativity of trying to find what works for you. What have you found? You found any like nuggets or gems recently that anyone would be interested in that you think are particularly useful in terms of techniques or anything different?
I am forever lowering my weight and then bringing it back up. So,
I'm actually exactly the same. I lift a lot less than I did like a year or two ago, and I'm much bigger.
I watch people training now, and without being
does that make
too
you
much
feel old in a weird respect?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, experience like Yoda, who's like, I used to do that stupid shit like deadlifting like 300 kilos, and now it didn't really help me.
When I see a 20-year-old put 200 kilos on a squat bar and do a partial rep with rolling feet and bowing knees and a curved back, and I cringe, and I just think, people will come to me and ask me, how much are you squatting or how much are you bench pressing? And the truth of it is, it really doesn't matter what I'm squatting or bench pressing. It's not comparable. First of all, our techniques are completely different. The range of motion that I'm using is completely different. My foot stance is deliberately set to isolate or to emphasize either quads or glutes, depending on what I'm training that day. The weight that I'm pushing myself to, the rep range that I want, what I've done before that exercise, what I plan on doing after that exercise, everything about my workout complements what I've done before or after. So, and that's why rest times and tempo are so important. So something like, okay, I'm going to go into the gym today and I'm just going to squat and get a new personal best on squats, and nothing else matters for that workout. Those days are long gone. It's all about, how can I fatigue this muscle group to encourage hypertrophy and growth within this 1 hour window or 45-minute window, however long you've got to train. And like we said earlier, it's all about, you can't go in and do the same thing every time, because your body will know, okay, for the last 3 weeks, you've done this in this order, so I won't allow you to progress. I'm going to reserve energy and strength and prevent you from going any further, because I am anticipating what you're trying to apply, and it will put a limitation on that. If you find a way around it, you will break that plateau. So when you come back to your original workout, you will have improved. So to answer your question, I am more interested in learning about how can I improve what I'm doing than how can I find, it's not so much the basic principles of bodybuilding are very simple. It's more, how can I improve execution rather than how can I find a new exercise that's going to make me massive.
It's improving the stability of the joint, increasing tension on the muscle. That's basically all you're looking for, isn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing that is paramount to me now, being an ancient 30-year-old,
you 30?
I am, yeah, I turned 30 this year. So to me, now it's also about longevity. It's not about, I want to be able to squat this much, I want to be able to bench this much. As much as I love putting numbers on the bar, and that's a personal achievement of mine, to me it's, am I doing that in a risk-free manner that's going to allow me to keep doing that for the next 10 years without the occasional niggle or occasional joint problem, or am I actually burning out my knees and going to not be able to do this forever? I'm thinking of ways of, I'm starting to improve recovery, stretching a lot more, going to see a physio. I went to see a physiotherapist for over an hour today just to flush out my legs and get them loose and nimble. It's all about, and that's actually helped me perform in the gym, and also create a better physique. So focusing more on recovery, focusing more on execution is much more important than thinking you're getting stronger and potentially doing long-term damage to your joints.
Yeah, it's always the soft tissue that will go first, before anything else. So I think that's where people go wrong, is they think they're hammering the muscle, but they're realistically just hammering everything between the muscles, which is actually causing more issues, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
Obviously, you travel a hell of a lot for work, and you manage to compete at such a high level. Any hacks for that you found with like traveling around that you find easy on the go? Because that's one of the most common barriers that I think people find to terms of getting into shape is an excuse, in my opinion. Is that I travel all the time, I can't do this, I'm not in one place. And it's like, I've been in 3 different countries in 3 weeks. Like, you just get on with it and find a way around it. Do you know what I mean?
There is always a best case scenario. You can always make the most of what you have. For me, if you can get away with packing a shitload of whey protein and liquid egg whites, you know, freeze a couple of bottles or cartons and put them in your suitcase and bring them with you. That's it's always about keeping in high quality, low calorie protein, and then everything else is quite easily attainable. So you can go to a restaurant and just order a salad. If you've got, you know, you can, or should I say, if I'm going away and I'm on prep, I still stick to my exact plan. If I go away and I'm off season, the only thing I really focus on is not going over the top on carbohydrates.
Yeah,
so
enough protein and just don't go mad with the bread and stuff like that all the time, every minute.
So if you keep your protein intake consistent, you could spend a week in a calorie deficit on less carbs and fats and not necessarily lose any of your gains. You may not have the most productive week. You may not make any gains, but as long as you're still in the gym stimulating muscle, don't overstress your CNS when you're on holiday, because 1, you don't want to get sick. 2, if you're under on calories, you don't want to end up doing a 1 rep max squat and then not being able to have the food to recover from that training. So the best thing you can do is if you're going away for a week, for example, with work, go to the gym for maintenance. So you want to get a stimulant pump workout, keep your protein level high, use apps like MyFitnessPal, anything that you buy from a shop, you can scan it. So just make sure that you're keeping a similar routine, protein's high, and then just make sure that you're under on carbs and fats, and you can't go wrong really. If it's completely different, however, if you're on prep. So every time I go away when I'm on prep, 1, I can't stay in a hotel unless it's got a sizable fridge that I can bring all my pre-prepared food in. A lot of people think that they have to bring 5 pieces of Tupperware with 5 different prepared meals for each day that they're there. That's not necessary. A much easier way to do that is have 1 enormous piece of Tupperware filled with cooked chicken breast and a big, huge bag of salad. Stick that in the fridge and bring scales with you. Bring scales, bring low-calorie sauce, bring salt, and 1 piece of Tupperware or a couple of pieces of Tupperware if you're going out for a few hours, and weigh as you go. Just simply, what's my next meal? Half an avocado, 200 grams of chicken, and 100 grams of cucumber or salad. Weigh it out, bring it with you, and just be prepared, be smart. And if you really must, I mean, you can't at a professional competitive level, but if you just want to stay on track, just make suitable alternatives. Go to a shop, read the macros, punch into MyFitnessPal, and make sure that you're not going over on calories. And if you're off season, then it doesn't really matter if you go over for a few days. You're not going to really see that much difference. And just make sure your protein levels are adequate.
Thing as well as nowadays, we've got so much easy access to pre-cooked foods as well. So, in particular, if you're in the UK and you travel for work in the UK, you almost don't even need to prep anything, because you can walk into a Tesco Express or an M&S anywhere and pick up 100 grams.
Everything.
In a packet.
They have everything. You can buy
anything you want. That's what I do when I'm like, I have a lot of these Shred Nate competitions. I'm going to Carlisle next week. I was in Glasgow and Ireland and wherever. But I'll just go and buy like pre-cooked packets of like grilled squid, which is like amazing. And then like, it's nicer than my own food. It costs a bomb, but like it's convenient. It's never an excuse, in my opinion, that you can't like hit your diet. As you said, it's just making a best case scenario of everything. Because there's always a better option or a bad option, and you know wholeheartedly which option you're going to make and what's a sensible one. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's where people go wrong.
People are instinctively very simple. Like electricity, people take the path of least resistance.
It's like the human body. That's why people cheat their reps by cheat form.
Yeah, exactly. If someone walks in and thinks, right, I could just buy a sandwich it's one, it's cheap. Two, it's easy to eat. And three, you don't have to think about it. You pick it up and you buy it and you eat it. That's a path of least resistance. The opposite would be, okay, well, what macros do I need? Okay, well, I need that packet of chicken. Now I need veg, or it needs to go with that packet of salad. So I'm going to buy these things and combine them to meet my macros. So if you have the willpower to stay on track, then you will. You just need to think about it. And like you said, if you live in a country like England, you have no excuse, because any Marks & Spencer's, Tesco's will probably have every cooked meat under the sun available. Some of them even now have salad bars, where you can actually make your own salad. And it is made very easy for you to decide exactly what you want to eat. You don't have to go to McDonald's. You don't have to go to the pub. You can do whatever you want. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, it's your choice, and your actions will determine your results, essentially. And that's where everyone goes wrong, really.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
But so tying that all up with yourself, what are your future plans then? Have you got anything else big planned? Obviously, you've got the next show coming up. But anything else down the line?
Short-term plans, of course, Worlds is my sort of annual show of the year. It's been my sort of dream for the last few years to be the world champion. So putting all my emphasis into that. Immediately after that show, I'm off to meet my sponsors, BPI Sports, in Miami, as they're only an hour from Bahamas. So going to pop out there and go to the headquarters, which will be a first time for me, and meet the team and get some content. So that will be exciting. And then, to be perfectly honest, in terms of bodybuilding and fitness, I don't have any plans as such after that. I kind of just put all of my emphasis into my show. And then I have this sudden sense of freedom and opportunity afterwards, where I think, well, what do I want to do next? And I won't actually know until after that show. I'm a bit blindsided. But I do have a lot going on at work. Like, I've got a lot of training courses to go away on, got a lot of work coming in, I've got a lot of opportunities to take a broad spectrum of career development that I'm going to focus on. So when I'm on prep, I sometimes put everything into prep, and I don't necessarily put the rest of my life on hold, because that would be impossible. But I sometimes press my enthusiasm into certain aspects like personal career development until after the show. So after the show, I can really then say, right, okay, I can divert that energy and attention to my day job now, and actually start thriving in that field. So that's how I feel like I have two different lives. When I'm on prep, it's all about the show. And then when I'm not on prep, I'll still be training every day. I'll still be dieting, but all of that drive and emphasis will go into another task. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I'll keep doing worlds until I'm world champion. And I'm just going to keep trying. There is one thing that I haven't yet stepped into, which I'd like to, is I would like to set up a YouTube channel. Because a lot of people who meet me at expos or shows say that I come across very different in person than I do on social media.
Yeah.
You can learn a lot from me just by the way I compose myself or come across or speak, which I don't portray much on Instagram, for example. So I would like to try and put out some informative content, some entertaining content, and just reveal a bit more about who I am and what I'm about. So that's probably going to be a focus of mine from building my profile as a person in the fitness industry, which could be successful. It might flop. Either way, I'm going to give it a go and see what happens.
Mate, it's a huge space for someone like yourself, I think, in the industry, because there's so few people who have such a well-rounded background as yourself. You're well-educated. And I think that in itself is a massive selling point. It said to you why I initially bought into you straight away as a person. I had huge respect for that. So yeah, 100% you should do it. And I'm sure that everyone would love to have you on board. And we'll get, after your show, we'll get some training and some videos. We'll film some stuff together and maybe go somewhere, do something cool. I'll be well up for that.
Yeah, even like if there's one thing I'm very good at is eating challenges.
Mate,
Not for
I
some, for
tell
some,
you what, I had there's a woman called Leah Shutkiva, I hope I pronounced her name right, who I also had on the podcast, who is a professional eater, and she was on like the Channel 4 Big Eaters program, and she was trying to get me in on it, and I was like, I can definitely eat more than you. I'm not having that. So I reckon, like, after we're all like happy with being lean, so maybe like October, November, coming towards Christmas, we should arrange that. We'll film it.
I am going to need some training time because I'm extremely blessed that this prep I have had zero appetite, which is perfect when you're on a diet. But when I've had a cheat meal, I've actually been full after quite a small and insignificant meal, which is great for the prep purposes. But it's shocking me because I used to put away 10,000 calories in an hour or two. And, anyone who's witness to this, not many people, like, oh, yeah, sure you did.
So I've seen some of the crap you do on IG stories before, like crap, your cheat meals, and it's pretty large.
I just seem to have, especially straight after a comp, I seem to just have this bottomless pit and just can keep eating. But I think things might be a bit different this year. I don't seem to have much of an appetite this year, which is very strange for me. A bit of training time. I want to stay lean for September and August, obviously after the show, make the most of actually all this work I put into getting in shape. But then, October, November, or even Christmas, I will certainly be indulging in a nice, happy, fat and healthy off season. So get some food challenges in then for sure.
Yeah, 100%. We'll get those books in the diary. And to finish up, obviously you're the hopefully assumed to be world champion at the WBFF Pro. What would you say is your biggest tip for anyone looking to get into compete? Because obviously a lot of people that can sit on the fence about it for a long time. It's a difficult decision. Where would you say they go to start off with? My first thing, this is not me, I don't really do comp prep, would be to don't do it yourself. Get a coach would be the greatest thing.
Yeah, that is a good tip. My very first tip would be go and watch a show. Now I didn't do this, so obviously I'm ignoring my own advice.
Hypocrite we have here.
I would say go to a show and see what you like. Watch the categories. See, some people will think, you could watch one federation and say, oh, I really like this style, or you might say, oh no, I don't like this. It's too formal, and they look like robots. Whereas if you like, not I'm saying one is better than the other, but you have to find what's right for you. So for me, the WBFF's great for me because it's not a fixed, rigid structure. You can basically pose how you want. You can show off your strengths and hide your weaknesses. There's no mandatory poses. You've obviously got your front side, back side, etc. But you choose how you want to present your physique, which is to me great. But also because of my genetic structure, I fell into muscle model very well without trying. I didn't think, oh, here's a category that I want to look like. I thought, okay, here's the physique I have. Here's the potential I have to do well in this category. So that's how I ended up picking muscle model for WBFF, along with the advice from other competitors. So I'd say first go and watch a few shows and pick one, what would I fit well in? And two, what do I want to do? Don't just go and do something because it's the most popular or because it's the easiest. Decide, who do you want to be? Do you want to be men's physique? Do you want to be muscle model? Do you want to be men's open bodybuilding? Once you've made that decision, then yes, find a coach who specializes in that federation or that body type or that field of fitness or bodybuilding, and say, I would like to do this show, and here's my starting point, and this is what I want to do well in. Hire a coach, plan, book, register yourself for a show, and just go and do it. There is no disadvantage or bad reason why you shouldn't just go. Start with an amateur federation, something small, one of the smaller ones. Or if you feel confident enough to go straight into, one of the national WBFF shows or whatever it is that you want to do, register for that show, give it your all. And worst case scenario, you might not win the show, but you will then have a datum for where do I need to go next. And you can use the stage photography, you can use the judges' feedback, and your coach will tell you, okay, you didn't do as well because this guy was a bit bigger than you, or this guy was a bit more conditioned than you, or your posing sucked, or, you know, whatever it is, go and do it, get your feedback. Not everyone, you know, is successful straight away, but how else are you going to know what improvements you need to make unless you actually just go and do it? So that would be my advice for anyone thinking about it, is absolutely grab it and go for it.
Take the bull by the horns, take action and just do it.
That's it.
Cool. So we'll wrap it up there, Alex. So thank you so much for your time. Now, where can everyone find you? So
I do most of my social media presence on Instagram, which is Alex Davies Official. That's probably, if you want to reach out to me and message me or follow me, that's where that's my central hub for everything. So I do share things on Facebook and Twitter, but that is, you know, where I respond to messages and post on a daily basis and keep everyone up to date with my what I'm up to.
Awesome stuff. So if you don't already, go give Alex a follow, guys. And if you have any other questions, I'll drop his IG tag as well in the notes below for the podcast. I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed this, and we'll try and get some training footage and videos in after Alex has done his show, and then he's got some more calories in, so I don't kill him.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for having me on, Charlie.
Pleasure, my man. Speak soon.